So I'm going to hand the panel over to Chris Krug. Chris Krug is a social media rock star for all those of you who haven't heard of him. He's very active photographer, blogger, super content creator. I think he created a few gigabytes of data on our drive up from Vancouver. So I encourage you to find him. He's KK Plus, or KK on Twitter, and see what he's up to. Thanks a lot.
The shirtless photos are of Ryan. I cut off his head to spare his dignity, but when he called me a internet rock star, I decided to take that back away. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming to this panel. Hopefully we will be interesting and you will learn a lot. I was expecting introductions for everyone that they didn't do, so I'll wing it. You're really lucky you have an awesome panel up here. Maggie Fox runs a social media group. She's a CEO and founder based in Toronto. They also have an office in Calgary, and they work with a lot of the biggest brands online to help them figure out this kind of emerging landscape. Dario works with Ryan at Invoke. It's a good thing they only gave him a couple minutes because they actually have about 20 products that are all pretty cool, so he probably would have gone about them on and on forever. But Dario works with Ryan. Hootsuite's awesome. You guys should check it out. They have a bunch of other tools they're bringing to market, and they help folks with social media strategy and kind of online campaigns and stuff. I don't know Chris as well. Maybe we'll let you give your own introduction.
Yeah, compared to, in terms of where we sit, we're FileMobile based in Toronto, and we're a software company. So a lot of very much in the back end, and we're involved in powering a lot of social media campaigns.
Very good. Okay, so I think the title of the panel is Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Is everyone having trouble following along, or how do you manage the flow? So we hope to just talk a little bit here today about the tools that we're using, how we're using them, show some things that have worked and not worked. In the interest of kind of conversation and open source, you guys can ask questions at any time during the panel. So I don't have one of these fancy little mics. I have one of these, and I'll be running around, hopefully getting your questions and getting answers from these guys. So my name's Chris. I started a company called Bright in 2004 that got acquired by Rain City Studios in 2007, and I spent 18 months working with Rain City after the acquisition. We opened an office in Shanghai during that time, so I've been back and forth to China a lot, and I'm headed to China immediately after this to speak at TED, and they're having the first TED in China, TED Shanghai on the 16th, and I'm giving a talk about open media and open culture and open source software in China, so I'm pretty stoked and honored to be doing that. And I'm working on a photography book about Shanghai. It's called China Meme Volume 1, and it's about the kind of emerging open source culture taking place in Shanghai. So headed off to do that. Maggie, you're doing work with Ford and lots of the big brands around social media strategy. You're helping executives figure out what's going on. You want to tell us a little about the work you're doing and what you see going on out there?
Sure. I mean, we've been around since 2006, and we've actually been Ford's social media agency since 2007. So year one with a company in social media versus year two, it's very different. I was actually in a meeting, and I'm not sure if either of you have kind of come across this either. I was in a meeting the other day, and someone from another agency was saying it used to be that companies cared about who was writing about them. You know, that if you reached out to bloggers or other content producers, who was it you were able to get to, and how would they talk about you? Now what they want to know is who's reading them. So what we're starting to run into, and I think this is very much a year two phenomenon, is scale. Is that it's really cool to experiment with social media and, oh, look at us, we're engaging online, but how do you bring the kind of scale that a company the size of Ford would traditionally expect from mass efforts?
Talk to me a little bit about the process. So you're talking about year one, year two, and bringing people like Ford online. So kind of from you guys should get on Twitter to, yes, we have a successful conversation going on. Talk to me a little bit about the process from getting to point A to point B.
Well, I think it's, one of the key things is experimentation, and I don't think that's new to anybody, but you really need to have a solid framework in place for experimentation, because Twitter might work for you, but it also might not. The people who care about you may not be there, right? They may not be interested in engaging on that platform. So what we see is just having a really, again, that solid framework. So we basically have a process where we go, okay, every 2 months, every 3 months, like we'll come up with a series of things we think meet corporate objectives and meet community objectives, more importantly. And we're going to throw some money at them. We're going to throw some time and resources. We're going to put some plans together and see how they look. And then we come together at the end of that period and look at the metrics and what was accomplished. And what
are some of those metrics? So talk about the evaluation. So you've done your experiments. You put some money into a few different things. And now you're sitting at the meeting and you're looking at, did this work? Or where do we spend the rest of our money? Talk to me about that.
Well, the metrics, it's interesting because it's the combination of metrics and key learnings, right? And a lot of the time, too, what works is stuff that just kind of gets left alone. Because if you're looking for really hardcore results in a very short period of time, like there's kind of this axis, and you can give something time or you can give it money. And if you want really major results in a very short period of time, you have to give it money, and that's paid media. You know, you really are not going to achieve scale and massive results, whether it's viewers or engagement or comments or content that's produced. You're not going to get that in a short period of time unless you throw some serious money at
But
it.
I thought the internet promised me if I made a $5,000 video, it'd go viral.
Yes, and also I'm writing a bestseller. Yeah. You know, the concept of, you know, make me a viral video, if someone says that to me again, I'm going to punch them in the face. Totally going to punch them.
I hope I'm there with my flip cam.
I will call you. That will go viral. Exactly. But anyway, I don't want to hog sort of the conversation. So,
I think you were saying a lot about.
Mic check.
What you're saying is very real, and it's all about that experimentation, using different tools. And a lot of people get caught up in the technology. They want to, we got to be on Twitter, we got to be on Facebook, and that's really not the point. Those are just tools for executing the initiative or campaign or whatever you want to call it. And it's always an experiment. I think those metrics are really important, and what you spoke of is great.
yeah, and it's a healthy mix, right? You have to have a healthy mix of accountability and experimentation, because you can't like spend 300 grand on something that goes nowhere after 8 months. I mean, no, that's not reasonable.
How would you spend 300 grand on a Twitter campaign anyway?
Well, on a Twitter campaign, I don't really know how you would do that.
Right.
I think you'd have to have some paid
What are
media
some
in
of the
there.
things that are working when you guys sit down and you do those evaluations and key learnings and stuff, and you're with Ford or some of the big guys? What are the things that are working the best?
The things that are working the best, first of all, I'll say the things that are working the best work the best largely because of the people that surround them and what they do with the intelligence that's generated. So in the case of Yamaha Motor, they put up a corporate blog in 2007. And the reason it's been really successful for them and is a really valuable case study that we've actually presented on is because the person who's running the blog took the insight from, you know, product to messaging to, you know, taking the temperature of how people are feeling about things. He was able to take that and feed it into the organization. So that's an example of something that's worked really well for a company because of the person who takes ownership for it. So we call that the insight champion, that if you don't have an insight champion for the work that you're doing, to take it, who's senior enough to make people listen to them and also senior enough to navigate the organization and drop it in the right spot, chances are your success is going to be less fantastic.